Alright, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to install a Windows operating system in a virtual environment. So the utility that we're going to be utilizing is called the VirtualBox, made by Oracle. So we'll fire this up. And you notice it's a very simple interface. We'll get into the settings just a moment. Before we do, I want to kind of show you what's going on behind the scenes. So we're going to click on this PC. There's two directories, an H drive and a P drive. So the P drive, we go in there first. This contains the ISO image, meaning the CD-ROM version of the installation CD for Windows in a file format. So it has an extension of .iso. Let me back up over here. And then you also have an H drive for your home folder. This is where you're going to be creating your Windows virtualization environment. You don't want to create it on the C drive because if the system gets rebooted, it's probably going to delete the files that are on that local machine. So we want to make sure it's on the home drive. So I'm going to keep this open, but I'll minimize it for the time being to set up our environment. So back in VirtualBox, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new environment, and we're going to name this Windows 10A. Now, a couple of things you notice happen. By default down below, it knows that we're going to be installing a Windows environment, so it has already been selected for us. If you notice on the drop-down menu for type, we have all these other pre-configured settings, right? Notice the word pre-configured. This does not mean that we have access to all those operating systems. So for example, if I select Windows here, here's Windows 64-bit, Windows 10 64. If I drop down this menu, you notice that I have additional environments here. Now again, this does not mean when you select one of these that you're going to have Windows 2000 or Windows XP up and running. All this is doing is giving us some pre-configured specifications for the environment. We still need to have the media to install these operating systems. So let me cancel out of this. Alright, so for right now, we gave it a name of Windows 10A. In another lab, what we're going to do is we're going to create another version of Windows, so we'll call it Windows 10B. Very important that we change the location of the folder. Again, by default, it is showing us that we want to install it on the C drive. Again, we want to do it in the H drive. So we're going to select the drop down, select Other. If you get this error, just click on Cancel here. So we're going to go to the H drive. This is your home drive. And one quick thing that you want to also do is you're going to create a new folder called VM in the H drive. Alright, so we'll select this folder. So you notice that our path now is h:/VM. We'll click on Next. The amount of RAM that we're going to be utilizing, we're going to increase that to 4096, so basically 4 gig. We'll click on Next. And now we're going to create a hard drive. So the way the hard drives are created, the hard drive in the virtual environment is basically a file. So we're going to create a new virtual hard drive. We'll click on Create. We're going to create the VDI. So this is a file that's going to work with the VirtualBox disk image. Select Next. We're going to utilize the dynamically allocated, which means that the file is going to grow and shrink depending on the contents of the operating system when we add and subtract delete files. Click on Next. 50 gigabyte, well, we're going to increase that to 100. Make sure it's 100. You notice up here that we have the path of where the VDI file is going to be. Right, so again, this is going to be the folder that is going to be pretending to be a hard drive in that virtual environment. We'll click on Create. And that's it. So let's take a look to see what happened with the system in the back end. So if we go to H drive, Here's my VM folder. Here is that environment. And then we got a couple things. We have a setup file, and then here is our file that's imitating as a hard drive. And right now it's just very small, a 2 megabyte file. But as we start installing the operating system, this file will actually get bigger. So I'm going to minimize this again. I'm going to come back over here. And if we click on Start, you think that would have Windows 10 up and running, but that's not going to be the case. So when we fire this up, all right, we actually get an error. All right, and the reason being is it does not know where the operating system is, or the setup disk is going to be. So if this is the first time you're doing it, you're not going to have any settings in here. So we're going to actually close this down. We're going to power off the machine. And before we could actually install the OS, we need to tell the virtual environment where that virtual CD that we have, that ISO image. So we're going to click on Settings. From there, we're going to click on Storage. Here we have a CD-ROM. You notice that it's empty. We'll click on this. And then we're going to move over here to the CD-ROM with a little down arrow. And then we're going to choose a disk file. So from there, we're going to basically navigate to the P drive. And again, the P drive has the installation file. All right, select that, click on Open. So now you notice that the system has that CD installed in a virtual setting. We click on OK, and once that is done, we're able to click on Start, and then the window will pop up. We click on that, and we should get a environment that's going to say to start Windows. Oop. Do that. Then we should have the environment pop up in a moment here. There you go. So it's starting Windows setup. And the next video is going to go through the actual installation.